Now at 5, concern about the spread of COVID variants with still so many people to get vaccinated, the age group that appears to be getting the most infected right now.
New financial help is now available for many entertainment venues hit hard by the pandemic. Billions of dollars that could save many businesses.
We always tell everybody, I know it's exciting, but just hold off.
The warmer temperatures may be giving you spring fever, but a word of caution tonight before you dig in for spring planting.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5. Streaming now.
Now at 5, did you see a downpour like this at your house this afternoon? It's been a day of off and on heavy rain.
Sure has. It's a WRTV Storm Team Alert Day. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory is tracking the chances for evening thunderstorms. Hey, Kevin.
And 2 days in a row, Mark and Amanda, we've talked about downpours and thunderstorms. The thunderstorms have been isolated, just a few. We've had more widespread general rain. The strongest storms in the window for any strong to severe storms is closing. I'd say the next hour or two. 50-mile-per-hour gusts from the stronger storms, heavy rainfall, and maybe some pea-size hail. There's the radar. South and west of Lafayette to Indianapolis and Columbus line, you're done with any threat for the rain. As we zoom in from Greensburg, northeast, that'll move between Rushville, Connorsville, up to Newcastle. Then the stronger storm right now is northern portions of Madison County toward Marion. You could see 50-mile-per-hour gusts there, some pea-size hail. Also from Muncie up to Hartford City, very heavy rainfall. And we'll keep our eye on the potential for the area to strengthen a little bit. That's just southwest of Kokomo and Tipton. That'll move along 31 as all of this moves northeast at about 25 miles per hour. There's the view looking west of Indianapolis, where the threat is virtually ending for additional rain. 63 in Indy, 66 in Columbus. As we go through the next couple of hours, we'll push everything, it looks like, north and east of Peru, Muncie, and Richmond by the time we get to 7 o'clock tonight. Mark?
Kevin, thank you. Tonight, we continue to see Indiana's coronavirus numbers heading in the wrong direction. We watch these numbers very closely that we get from the state every day. And since early March, we've seen a slow climb from about a 3% 7-day positivity rate to where it stands today at 4.6%, as you see here. This is just a snapshot of the past week when we started at 4.3%. More than 1.3 million Hoosiers are now fully vaccinated, but the number of positive cases continues to climb. Today, it's nearly 1,400. The state also reports 16 additional COVID-related deaths it has learned of. They occurred between last April and yesterday. Experts say new variants of the virus are catching up, with many young people still yet to be vaccinated. The CDC said this week the UK variant is now the predominant COVID-19 variant in the United States. The medical director of infection prevention at IU Health says all the variants right now seem to be more infectious and able to spread easier from person to person. All this while cases are climbing in the Hoosier state. The younger age groups, who are now just starting to get vaccinated, also seem to be the ones getting infected the most right now.
The main important message is that we have to get to herd immunity as fast as possible. Whatever that number is, we have to get the maximal amount of people protected so that we don't have to worry about this come next winter. But if we don't get to herd immunity, this is going to maintain itself at a low level probably throughout the summer. And then there eventually will be a new virus that comes about, a new variant of the virus that we're going to need a booster for. And we're going to have to go through this all again.
It's still unclear whether these new variants are deadlier. Dr. Beeler says the only thing that can stop the spread of COVID-19 is by reaching herd immunity. 2 weeks after your last dose of their vaccine is when you are fully vaccinated. Dr. Beeler says that he's seen patients who have gotten their vaccine and then days later become infected with coronavirus because they did not use safety precautions during those 2 weeks before they were fully protected. The city of Carmel plans to reopen City Hall to the public and employees on Monday. The city is basing this move on the increase in vaccinations in the most vulnerable populations, low hospitalization numbers, and the availability of more effective treatments. The plan is to gradually increase staffing to full force by May 3rd. The city plans to continue taking the temperatures of employees and visitors as they enter City Hall until further notice. And effective May 3rd, employees who are vaccinated will not have to wear masks in City Hall.
The Rebound Indiana highlights the support and resources available to businesses that are still struggling. More than a year into the pandemic, many entertainment venues were hit very hard and are still closed. First, there was the Paycheck Protection Program that provided much needed aid. Now more help is available. Applications open today for the Small Business Administration Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. $16.2 billion in federal money is available. It could be a lifeline to businesses like the Hi-Fi and Fountain Square. The Hi-Fi's chief financial officer is also part of the Indiana Independent Venue Alliance, formed last year to help those businesses stay alive.
For venues, it's going to be really important because, there's a lot of people been out of work. There's a lot of venues that have had to shut down and, operate at, very, small capacities and not able to generate the revenue that they were before. So it's going to be significant for us because, we were just kind of an industry that we were kind of shut down for a long time and couldn't really do much about it. I'm really, really happy. I know lots of other members are really excited about this grant and what it's going to mean for them.
The SBA Shuttered Venue Operators Grant will provide businesses with grants equal to 45% of their gross earned revenue, up to $10 million. Eligible applicants include live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, performing arts organizations, and movie theater operators. You can learn more right now at WRTV.com. And the need for aid becomes even more apparent when we see the weekly unemployment numbers. Nationally, claims for the first time unemployment benefits rose last week to 744,000. That's an increase of 16,000 from the previous week. In Indiana, the picture is somewhat better. About 7,300 first-time claims were filed last week, a decrease of nearly 2,000 from the week before.
Tonight, we're following a developing story out of South Carolina where the scene of another mass deadly shooting happened. And officials are saying the gunman is a former NFL player. That man is 32-year-old Philip Adams. Investigators say he killed 5 people and injured a 6th before taking his own life. The initial shootings took place yesterday in Rock Hill, South Carolina, about a half hour from Charlotte, North Carolina. A prominent doctor, his wife, 2 of their grandchildren, and a man who had been working at the home were all killed. Adams was found dead after midnight today from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Adams was a defensive back for multiple teams, including the San Francisco 49ers and the Atlanta Falcons. Investigators are still searching for a motive. This all comes as President Biden today announced new gun safety measures aimed at what the White House called a gun violence public health epidemic. ABC's Mary Alice Parks reports.
President Biden in the Rose Garden Thursday called gun violence in the U.S. an epidemic and an international embarrassment.
Our flag was still flying at half-staff for the victims of the horrific murder of 8 when 10 more lives were taken in a mass murder in Colorado. Between those 2 incidents, less than 1 week apart, there were more than 850 additional shootings.
Joined by survivors of gun violence and those who've lost loved ones, the president announcing new executive actions. He wants the Department of Justice to regulate so-called ghost guns, kits that can be purchased online and turned into a fully functioning gun without a serial number. And limiting stabilizing braces used in the shooting in Boulder, Colorado, to turn a pistol into a short-barreled rifle. The president admitting these are far from sweeping measures. As a candidate, he called for a ban on assault weapons and new laws to hold gun manufacturers accountable. He's now calling on Congress to do more.
They've offered plenty of thoughts and prayers, members of Congress, but they've passed not a single new federal law to reduce gun violence. Enough prayers. Time for some action.
The Democratic-controlled House last month passed several bills expanding background checks, but those have stalled in the Senate. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham this week leaving open the possibility of compromise.
I'm willing to have a conversation with my Democratic colleagues about how we can make sure that people who are a danger to themselves or others, that we deal with that issue in terms of having a gun.
The president also named David Chipman to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Chipman had been an agent with the ATF, but recently had worked as an advocate on gun safety reforms. Mary Alice Parks, ABC News, Washington.
Here in Indiana, a controversial bill that would have allowed you to carry a handgun in public without a permit appears to be dead at the State House. The proposal passed the House, but Senate Republican leaders have decided against taking up the bill in the final weeks of this year's session. The superintendent of state police and several other law enforcement organizations had testified against the bill.
Now to today's developments in the Derek Chauvin trial. The former Minneapolis police officer accused of murdering George Floyd. Today, a key medical expert took the stand for the prosecution. Court TV's Chanley Painter reports.
George Floyd died of a low level of oxygen while being pinned on the ground with his hand cuffed behind him. That's what the jury learned from the state's expert, Dr. Martin Tobin, a lung and critical care specialist from Chicago who is nationally known for his expertise on breathing. Jurors listened intently to Dr. Tobin's testimony, explaining how the lungs of a person suffering from a health ailment may be impacted while in a prone position and the result of fentanyl in George Floyd's system.
The problem is if they have pneumonia, they have bad matching between the blood vessels going through the lungs and the air sacs. In people who have pneumonia, COVID, whatever, that matching is going to be very bad, and that's what leads to the worse oxygenation in those patients. The second reason why you know fentanyl is not causing the depression of his respiration. What you're seeing is that the increase in his carbon dioxide that is found in the emergency room is solely explained by what you expect to happen in somebody who doesn't have any ventilation given to him for 9 minutes and 50 seconds.
Tomorrow, prosecutors are expected to call the Hennepin County Medical Examiner, Dr. Andrew Baker, to talk about cause and manner of death. That's the latest from here in downtown Minneapolis. I'm Chanley Painter with Court TV.
To watch live coverage of this trial, check out courttv.com, where you can see the court proceedings unfold in real time.
Still ahead on WRTV, you will not only dish out burritos and job at one restaurant chain, but you could also serve up a free college education for yourself. The details coming up here.
Say goodbye to empty middle seats on airplanes. Coming up, the new policies you need to know about so you don't waste your money.
And say hello to another area of heavy rainfall from Muncie down to Newcastle to east of Greensburg and then through Marion as well. What's ahead for tomorrow and the weekend? We'll talk about that.
Welcome back. A paycheck, work experience, and a free college education. That's what Chipotle is now offering its employees. The restaurant chain announced today that it will offer debt-free degrees to all eligible employees in the areas of agriculture, culinary, and hospitality. After 120 days of employment, you'll be eligible to pursue online degrees at 10 universities. Nearly 100 degree options will be available. The initiative comes in partnership with Guild Education.
They waved the green flag on some important laps being turned at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today. Teams getting to work on testing for this year's 500. Just 52 days until the race. A total of 32 car and driver combos are expected to go at IMS today and tomorrow. Veterans got on the track for the first 2 hours today. Rain delayed things in the middle of the session. Tomorrow, there will be an open test period for all teams from 10 to 4. IndyCar opens its 2021 season next weekend in Alabama. Well, Kevin, it turned out to be a storm team alert day, and rain did impact those drivers today. How does tomorrow look for everybody?
The chance for rain tomorrow is lower. It's not zero, but it's 16th in Georgetown and about a 70% chance they'll be dry. Is that a good way to put it? I think so. All right, gusty winds again today, even outside of any rain or thunderstorms. 34-mile-per-hour peak gusty in Indy as everything is in full bloom right now. And emerald green grass, one way to look at it. From Lafayette to Indy to Greensburg Southwest, we're done with the rain. Let's follow the rain that's in eastern Indiana and in some cases isolated thunderstorms. Some of this very heavy rainfall, it'll be relatively brief because these are moving northeast pretty quickly. But between Greensburg and Batesville crossing 74, some rain between Rushville and Connorsville, heavy rainfall. The strongest storm is just moving to the north of Marion now, northern Grant County. Hartford City, you're getting a good thunderstorm, some 40-mile-per-hour gusts and heavy rainfall. And to the west, we had a little bit of lightning pop up near Rushville, which is kind of southwest of Kokomo in Howard County. That area of rain will move from Kokomo to the west and then on up toward Logansport and Peru. Temperatures, they take a hit when the rain moves through. You can see Greenfield's down to 61, 60 in Muncie. The wind will stay breezy this evening. Brody, look at that. I don't know if you can see it, but right next to his right paw is the center of his world. That ball, you throw it, he goes and gets it. Kristen Walker, thanks for sharing the picture there. Brody's got some muddy paws. That's one of the costs of the rain that we've had recently. As we go hour by hour, 6 to 7, watch the rain push north and east, 7 to 8, farther northeast, and then out of the picture by the time we get to 9 o'clock. Any window for stronger storms is really the next hour or so. During the day tomorrow, it'll be breezy again. We'll see 30-mile-per-hour gusts. The chance for showers and thunder showers will be a little greater just to the south and east of Indy. More on that in a second. There are the strong winds peaking from about 11 a.m. through 4 p.m. The rain potential, a few showers possible in the morning, but watch in the early afternoon. We'll see a little flare up of some showers and thunder showers. This model just updating, and there you could see it between 4 and 7 southeast of Indianapolis, maybe a few downpours there. But a nice bonus of that south wind, look at the surge in temperatures warming nicely into the 70s, and that's a brief trip into the 70s because we're back in the 60s over the weekend with rain and thunderstorms. Periods of rain Saturday. Rain chance diminishes on Sunday. Then we get into a drier but cooler stretch of weather. High temperature of 59 on Wednesday. Well, it's easy to get fired up and start thinking about planting flowers and getting the garden going and all these things when temperatures get in the 70s. But Kyle's here to say, calm it down a little.
Pump the brakes, Kevin. All right, well, Kevin, after a cold start to the month of April, those temperatures have certainly surged above average for several days. But those experts do say you might want to resist that urge to get out and plant all of your spring flowers right now. With our recent stretch of 70-degree warmth, we're all spending more time outdoors. Even the trees are getting in on the action, budding out and spreading their pollen. Achoo! But you might want to pump the brakes on planting lots of spring flowers. April can also get quite cold in central Indiana. Just a few years ago, in 2018, we picked up about 2.5 inches of snow in April. Most of that fell on April Fool's Day. And the temperatures, they weren't fooling around either. April 2018 makes the top 10 list for coldest Aprils in central Indiana. Despite the mood swings that Mother Nature can provide us this time of year, Carrie Arney with Sullivan Hardware says we do have some planting options.
If you want to do a planter of herbs or a planter of pansies, because that way it's small, you're not spending lots and lots of money, and it's something that you could move around. So if we do get cold temperatures, you can protect it and then bring it back out. Typically, we see our last freeze occur in mid to late April, but we have had freezing conditions as late as May 27th. If we do get in on another freeze this year, Arnie says not all is lost. Foliage can take 32 and below. If we have temperatures that are still freezing, what happens is the freezing cold will kind of zap their color. So you can still cover those, but they will bounce back from it just fine. While temperatures are expected to cool down next week, it's too soon to tell if we're out of the frosty woods just yet. And are you ready to get growing with your vegetable garden? Well, Rosie Lerner with Purdue University says you can plant those tomatoes, peppers, and vine crops once the frost threat has ended. For us Hoosiers, that's typically in early to mid-May. Mark?
And I'll be around to eat it. Yes. All right. Thanks, Kyle, for that. The pandemic is not over, but the days of half-filled airplanes are. Consumer reporter John Matarese explains, so you don't waste your money.
It was nice while it lasted. 1 year after blocking out middle seats, the last airline to keep them empty is now about to fill them with passengers again. 1 year ago, Delta Airlines was the first to block off middle seats to give passengers more peace of mind when flying during the pandemic. But in recent months, other airlines have started filling those seats, and Delta has just announced that starting May 1st, You will find passengers in that middle seat next to you once again. Delta CEO says research finds that more than 60% of Delta travelers will have received at least one COVID vaccine shot by that date. Airlines have been under pressure to fill those seats as traffic has returned, with a pandemic record 1.5 million Americans flying over Easter weekend. And don't hold out much hope for empty airplanes. There are now fewer flights than before the pandemic, so most planes are flying full. So don't waste your money. I'm John Matteries, WRTV.
Still ahead on the news at 5, a new piece of artwork is coming to downtown, one that celebrates a man who cycled his way into sports history while pushing past racism. Downtown will soon be getting another iconic mural. This one is of a Hoosier who pushed past racism to become one of the greatest cyclists of all time. The Arts Council of Indianapolis had previously announced that Major Taylor would be the first honoree for the city's Bicentennial Legends series. Today, the council announced that a 5-story mural of Taylor would be painted by artist Sean Michael Warren. He will start work on it this spring on the east exterior of the Barnes & Thornburg building on South Meridian Street. Major Taylor became the first Black American to win a world championship in any sport when he won the 1-mile sprint cycling world title in 1899.
Indiana's love of basketball is legendary, so a recent discovery at one of IUPUI's dorms seems fitting. Take a look. While doing some renovations, a hidden gem was found. A full basketball court discovered under the floors of Ball Hall. The historic residence hall has been around since 1928, when it served as a dorm for nursing students. The dorm is now home to freshmen of all majors. IUPUI says it will keep the basketball hardwood exposed as a, quote, vintage touch in some of the rooms. Look at that.